Something smart to chew on. The Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom, informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI, food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International for Monday the 3rd of November 2025. We are on to program number 1479 of the Lunchroom, and I'm your host, Calix George Jr. In addition to 101.1 FM radio, you can also get us at our website. It is rcistlucia.com, and we are streaming also on Facebook Live. You just have to search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. Please be sure to like and share that as well with your friends and family. And we've also got a link up on YouTube for those of you who don't use Facebook. So please, you have got lots of opportunities to get us online as well. Well, we want to send out some birthday greetings for today for this November the 3rd. First to Mr. Joshua Werner. Happy birthday to you, sir. Hope you're having a fantastic birthday celebration. Also to Miss Teska Mathra, happy birthday to you. And we do wish you an absolutely wonderful birthday celebration. And also to two residents of the constituency of Choiseul Saltibus. First to Miss Nyla Lafontaine, happy birthday to you, Nyla. And we're wishing you a wonderful birthday celebration. Make it a great one indeed. And as well to the endorsed candidate of the St. Lucia Labour Party for Choiseul Saltibus, Mr. Keithson Charles. He is celebrating his birthday today, and we want to wish him an absolutely fantastic birthday, and hopefully he can get some rest after his big launch yesterday. And of course, we want to look back in time, a bit of history for the day. Back in the year 644 AD, the second Muslim caliph, Umar ibn al-Khattab, was injured in an assassination attempt in Medina by Lulu, an enslaved Persian captive, and the caliph died 4 days later. In the year 1534, on this day, the English Parliament passed the Act of Supremacy, making Henry VIII and all subsequent monarchs the head of the Church of England. In the year 1906, the International Radio Telegraph Conference in Berlin selected the SOS distress signal as the worldwide standard for help. In 1957, on this day, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik #2 with space dog Laika aboard, a mostly Siberian Husky. He became the first animal in space. 1970, on this day, the United States President Richard Nixon promised to gradually remove troops from Vietnam. We now move on to our dish of the day.
Tells a story of someone's mother, someone's brother, someone's friend. And when that story of care is complete, it's time for the next chapter, home. But too often, discharged patients are left waiting hours, days, weeks, sometimes months, not because they want to stay, but because no one comes. We understand life gets busy, but every extra day they wait means another patient, perhaps in pain, perhaps in crisis, can't get the bed they desperately need. So when the call comes that your loved one is ready, please be ready too. Pick them up, bring them back to the comfort of family, where healing truly continues. Because caring doesn't end at discharge, it continues with you. A message from the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to the Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And of course, it was a pretty busy weekend for the island's two main political parties, the St. Lucia Labour Party and the United Workers' Party. Both entities had events for their supporters and to rally support from would-be voters in the next general election, whenever that may be. And of course, in the case of the United Workers' Party, they headed to what was known as, I think, Utopia Grounds in the constituency of Miku South for what was dubbed a youth rally or youth event for the United Workers' Party. It is, of course, interesting that they've had two major events, national events, to date since August, and both of those events, in fact, happened in, or have happened in, the constituency of, currently being held by the leader of the opposition and political leader of the United Workers' Party, the Honorable Alan Shastney. And not to say that they have not had other events, but certainly not at a national level. And of course, the candidates launch was held in that constituency, I think back in August or thereabouts. And you'd recall that it was originally postponed due to a matter of, I suppose, precaution, according to the party, of not having the event in Castries on the William Peter Boulevard for security concerns. And that was on a weekend where the city, in fact, witnessed two homicides in broad daylight. And of course, that event perhaps did not pull the kind of momentum and crowd that the opposition was banking on. And of course, there is that massive debate still roaring, that, and of course, certain people say that crowds do not necessarily win elections. And of course, it does certainly speak to the reality that in any one event, it certainly will never represent a majority of the population. And certainly we've been seeing some very, very large crowds coming out, particularly to the rallies, the launch rallies that have been held by the governing St. Lucia Labour Party. They've put on, I think, about a series of about 5 different launch rallies. I think, well, of course, this weekend was the last of the new candidates of the St. Lucia Labour Party to be launched. And certainly the numbers seem to be pretty astounding. As to whether you believe each party's characterization of the numbers, that, of course, is perhaps left for your own judgment and the judgment of individuals who may be able to properly estimate crowd sizes, because, of course, the United Workers' Party characterization of the SLP crowd will be perhaps an underestimate, and the St. Lucia Labour Party's characterization of its own crowd might be an overestimate. Chances are the reality probably lies somewhere in the middle, or maybe not necessarily in the middle, but somewhere in between those two numbers, not necessarily an average of the two numbers. And so that, of course, that debate is interesting, given the fact that we, of course, are seeing the emphasis on so many crowds. But certainly yesterday's event put on by the St. Lucia Labour Party did have a tremendous number of individuals coming out. And of course, these national rallies are pulling individuals from across the entire island, not merely the constituency in question. And one might say that probably, given the fact that we know the population of Choiseul, based on the census data, has not really gone beyond somewhere around 6,000, 7,000 people at any one time living in Choiseul. And one could certainly hazard a guess that, yes, there were probably more people gathered at Lafargue than the entire constituency or the population of the constituency of Choiseul. It was certainly a very, very significant turnout in that regard. And of course, the traffic certainly spoke volumes in that matter. And it certainly does bring into focus the need to be able to have mass crowd venues that can certainly support very large events in any one constituency or in any one region or district within the island. We've seen, of course, how certain events have grown. And I speak, of course, for example, the main stage events of the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival, which is held in Pigeon Island on an annual basis. And the challenges, of course, of moving thousands and thousands of people in and out of a space, of a venue, has its logistical challenges. It's particularly, of course, given the nature of our road network and the challenges of being able to manage public transit as well as parking requirements for those kinds of events. And one might say that Pigeon Island has some advantages far more than a lot of other sites, and we are seeing some of these large events being placed in locations that are somewhat challenging in terms of the logistics to be able to get individuals in and out smoothly. But that said, we certainly have come a long way in terms of being able to see improvements in that regard. I think back, maybe to must have been around 1992 or thereabouts. In those days, there were national motorcades going around the island, and I somewhat vividly remember in my childhood, the experience and the horror stories of a motorcade going through the constituency of Choiseul. And in those days, the main road in Choiseul is nothing like what it is today. It paled in comparison, certainly in terms of the road width, and it was certainly not a road that was designed to handle any kind of major amount of traffic. And of course, for these national events, yes, we have better infrastructure today to be able to support some of them, and certainly that Southwest Coast Road. It'd be hard to imagine how a lot of people would have been able to get into Choiseul previously without that road being currently there. And so certainly it has helped tremendously in terms of hosting of events. But beyond that, of course, the general economic opportunities that it has afforded since it was constructed previously, maybe I think somewhere around 1999 into 2000, 2001 or thereabouts. It certainly has made a tremendous change in the fortune of the southwest region of the island. But in addition to that, of course, many of these facilities and fields now benefit from actually having lights on them and some level of infrastructure to be able to actually support very, very large crowds. And we have seen, of course, of late even jazz events being held down at the Lafargue playing field in Choiseul. But certainly it is perhaps a point that is useful to take note in, that if we are going to be certainly having large-scale events, that the need to look at the supporting infrastructure for some of these towns and villages is certainly necessary moving forward. Certainly, the constituency of Choiseul-Saltibus has come a long way. Again, when you look back in time and you consider that it effectively still is, of course, the most remote part of St. Lucia by virtue of being perhaps the furthest distance anybody could drive to the capital or from the capital of Castries. And that has no doubt had a certain level of impact on the constituency and the persons who hail from that constituency. And certainly it is a constituency that has had, although it is remote, it has certainly had a particularly major impact on the development of the country by virtue of the number of individuals who have come out of that constituency and who've migrated, who've made impacts all around the island. And of course, in addition to that, also very, very well noted for its industrious nature in terms of the types of craft activity that has occurred in different parts of Choiseul over the years. And it was almost as if each ridge in Choiseul had a different area of specialization. And so there were some ridges that would have been where you would have gotten furniture made. There were some ridges where you would have had an emphasis on clay products and the clay pots. And there were other ridges which would have focused more on the production of mats and wicker products. And so you saw a lot of variety, of course, coming from those various areas. And it certainly is a remarkably beautiful part of St. Lucia. And we're seeing now as well an interest in the southwest of the island, individuals taking up the opportunity of doing more small scale, more intimate type of accommodation for visitors who wish to enjoy the island. And of course, we're seeing in many parts, especially in the regions of Delse, very near to the Gopito, very great views of Gopito. We're seeing lots of interest there in terms of the creation of restaurants and bars and tours and various possibilities for attractions and also very quaint properties as well. Tete Rouge, for example, is of notable mention. And we're seeing that, and no doubt more will arise in that part of the island, which has traditionally been the island's rural heartland and countryside, and certainly something that still has to be conserved because in as much as you want development, the development certainly should not be overbearing. It should not be out of scale. It should certainly fit into the topography of that region, and of course a region of very, very many of deep falls or canyons or gullies, if you like, and very steep ridges. It effectively, in many respects, when you see images of Bali, which of course is a very notable international destination in Indonesia, and you see the types of properties that Bali is very well known for in towns like Ubud, very, very reminiscent of the kind of topography that exists in Choiseul, on ridges and hotels that are really just hanging on to the sides of these canyons. Very, very similar indeed, and really certainly speaks perhaps to the possibilities that exist in that very picturesque part of St. Lucia. Of course, heading back across to the East Coast, where the United Workers' Party was having their event focused on youth. They also had, in addition, of course, to entertainment, made some pronouncements in respect of certain initiatives geared towards youth. And just very quickly, coming out of, I suppose, the tidbits of their manifesto to come, that the UWP will appoint youth ambassadors. United Workers' Party will appoint youth ambassadors in sports, entertainment, and business to inspire leadership, promote innovation, and empower young people to be active drivers of national development. Then goes on to say UWP will include youth on councils, boards, and committees. UWP will provide up to $25,000 grants for youth businesses. It then goes on to say that the UWP will increase the subvention of the National Youth Council. Doesn't actually give a specific mention of the amount, but it says they will increase the subvention to support the revitalization of all district youth and sports councils, and will also provide technical support staff to strengthen their operations, improve program delivery, and enhance youth engagement across every community. As well, the UWP will establish a digital academy that will provide skills development and certification in key areas such as cybersecurity, AI, robotics, content creation, digital marketing, and so on. Also, they will introduce a dedicated Dennery segment event. As part of our efforts to invest and expand our suite of national festivals and events, the United Workers' Party will introduce a dedicated Dennery segment event produced to international standards. And the UWP will institute a mortgage guarantee program. The UWP will enable first-time young home buyers to access affordable starter homes and apartment options by creating targeted financing programs and partnerships that make home ownership a reality for the next generation. So those are promises coming out of that youth rally in terms of some of the pronouncements made by the UWP towards young people and what they, of course, deem to be important for young people. Of course, I know, no doubt, some people will argue that some of these things might already be in train to some degree. I mean, the whole idea of youth ambassadors, and we certainly have seen some individuals, like, for example, Julian Alfred, no doubt being made a tourism ambassador. We've also seen, of course, the matter of grants being provided to businesses through the Youth Economy Agency. And of course, it's interesting because, especially in the case of the NYC, that has been certainly a long-standing matter. And the relationship between former UWP administrations and the NYC has tended to be rocky. But of course, the promise of an increase in the subvention perhaps will be welcome news to an organization that has not been as active as it used to be in the past. The matter of a mortgage guarantee, that one we'll have to unpack somewhat, because of course we do know that there have been efforts somewhat in that vein already through the SLDB, St. Lucia Development Bank, and a $20 million facility to be able to provide very low interest loans, mortgages for just that purpose. So certainly lots to discuss as we continue the program, but we're going to take a break at this point and end our dish of the day and head to take in our weather report.
This has been The Daily Dish.
Every bed in our hospitals tells a story of someone's mother, someone's brother, someone's friend. And when that story of care is complete, it's time for the next chapter, home. But too often, discharged patients are left waiting hours, days, weeks, sometimes months, not because they want to stay, but because no one comes. We understand life gets busy, but every extra day they wait means another patient, perhaps in pain, perhaps in crisis, can't get the bed they desperately need. So when the call comes that your loved one is ready, please be ready too. Pick them up, Bring them back to the comfort of family, where healing truly continues. Because caring doesn't end at discharge. It continues with you. A message from the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs.
It's now time for our weather report, brought to you by Island Style.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home. Really? Yeah, it's always the same white, beige, and gray tiles with the style stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me, please. I'm fed up. What are you looking for? Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle-dazzle. Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my #1 store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for. That sounds perfect. I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation. I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and View Fort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. We'll help bring your vision to life in living color.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And the forecast for St. Lucia valid for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from between the east near 17 miles per hour or 28 kilometers per hour. Weather, fair to occasionally cloudy skies with a few showers. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles, fair to occasionally cloudy with widely scattered showers and a chance of isolated thunderstorms, mainly over the southern portion of the Lesser Antilles. The tropical weather outlook. The Atlantic high pressure system will maintain moderate to brisk easterly winds across the Lesser Antilles during the next couple of days. Patches of low level clouds moving along the wind flow will cause some showers over parts of the eastern Caribbean today. A mid to upper level trough system will cause some showers and possible isolated thunderstorms over the southern portion of the region from tomorrow morning. Tropical cyclone formation is not expected over the tropical Atlantic during the next 7 days. And that is your weather report, brought to you by Island Style.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home. Really? Yeah, it's always the same white, beige, and gray tiles with the style stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me, please. I'm fed up. What are you looking for? Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle-dazzle. Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my #1 store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for. That sounds perfect. I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation. I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and View Fort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. We'll help bring your vision to life in living color.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And we've got about 23 minutes to go before the hour of 2 o'clock. So we can definitely have a bit of time to take in some of your calls. Of course, the matter of St. Jude Hospital is still very topical, and especially, of course, for individuals in the south of the island, it has certainly been an issue, a missing element for people because, of course, they are the ones who are most impacted by not having a decent, properly operating hospital for the south. The catchment for St. Jude Hospital is roughly the area from Dennery in the east up to about Soufrière in the west, and everything south of that. Roughly about 66,000 or so people depend on the operations of St. Jude Hospital, and it certainly has been not the most ideal situation since 2009, September the 9th, 2009, when that facility was burnt down. And it certainly finally does seem to be more than a light at the end of the tunnel now. So we seem to be coming out of that tunnel in respect of St. Jude Hospital. And again, just today, another image, some images coming out of that being posted by the contractor himself, Mr. Reno Kajada, and showing and indicating that there will be all hands on deck at this point in time in terms of handling the installation of equipment, which of course is most critical for any properly functioning hospital. Of course, there are many different services, many different moving parts that have to come together in sync in an integrated facility like a hospital. And it's not so easy to do quote unquote soft openings of hospitals, because you do have so many different elements that actually feed off each other and work in tandem with each other. And yes, there may be certain things, maybe outpatient services that you do not necessarily need some of these other services to handle, but certainly a hospital does require all the basic electricity, lighting, water, proper ventilation systems, and certainly in the surgery rooms, they got to have properly pressurized spaces as well to prevent the spread of disease. You've got to have the right types of flooring, materials being used. You've got to have the right amount of pretty much everything. You've got the issue of the support for medical gases, and of course the need for an oxygen generation plant. All of these things have to be in place and installed and tested to be able to have a very well running hospital. But we speak about that in just a bit. We've got a call which we want to take at this time. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Hi, good afternoon.
How are you doing, caller?
I'm doing good.
Wonderful.
The reason for me calling is I listened to a clip where the former Prime Minister is talking about he cannot see how you can put people first. How can it profit the government? What is it they're going to get out of putting the people first? And to me, that is what helps government to remain successful. Because the most important thing is not all the infrastructural things that most of them they take for their legacy, but it's about putting policies and all things in place that will show people that, yes, you are putting our needs first. Even going out there in large meetings as foreign ambassadors, whatever you call it, either you and wherever you go, the first thing is about making sure that any decision or anything that is given is about you putting people first. So I found that very strange and baffling that he could say, how can you put people first?
Well, you see, caller, for capitalists, it's about putting profit first. right? And if you are going to be putting profit first, then the people themselves simply become a factor of production. They're just merely the labor input, right? And you want to be able to therefore minimize your costs. And if it's an input cost like labor, you end up wanting to keep the costs down, which is why perhaps it has taken us such a long time to be able to recognize the need for a minimum wage. Finally, we saw minimum wage being approved. Ironically, of course, it may be convenient now for his party to suggest that the minimum wage is not adequate, right? But of course, we know, as with, I suppose, everything that is going on right now, people have had the opportunity, one can say, to be able to, to see the records of both persons, the records of both persons who are putting themselves up for prime minister, effectively, right? And I think by your fruits and work you shall be known. And I think that's a bit of a challenge maybe for him at this point, because...
But at the end of the day, it's the people that are putting you in power. It's the people's votes that put you in power. So how then you don't want to...
Well, you see, that is true, caller, but then you see in a I don't know how to put it, in a very transactional society, and this is something that we have to guard against, where some people will literally tell you, well, how much are you offering for my vote, right? Because they don't appreciate that the vote has implications beyond whatever you might deem to be an adequate amount for somebody to pay you to go to vote, right? They're not realizing that this thing has real implications for yourselves, the quality of your life, the issue of all the policies, whether it's education, healthcare, housing, roads, public transit, the whole works depends on good decision making.
Yeah.
And quite often too many times we hear rather unfortunate and one could say even ignorant statements about, well, how much are you going to pay me, right, to vote?
Yeah, and people do that.
Yeah,
but
of
at
course.
the end of the day, what I'm saying is you, as a former prime minister, should see the works of this present prime and see how much he is giving back. It's not about how you calling that, the handout, It's not really handouts. Because handouts I do not really support. It's the programs, the different things to change and transform people's lives, whether in health, whether in education, whether in agriculture, whatever. Even going out there and seeking from other foreign countries assistance that will benefit and look like. These are all the things. So how can you now see that? And then you want to come back into power. How can you come back when you're already telling people that putting people first is not a necessity?
Well, I didn't quite hear the statement, so...
I did hear the full, yes.
Yeah, so I don't know... I mean, it's a rather intriguing statement. I don't know...
And nobody questioned him.
But then again, I mean, he has made some very... incredulous statements. The whole thing about colonialization had a conscience and trying to justify colonialization colonization, I guess you could say, or colonialization. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. But he did make that statement, and it's still one of the most damning things that perhaps one has heard coming out of a politician in the Caribbean. For a very long time. I cannot even fathom an Andrew Holness, individuals who he may believe
Gaston Brown, all of these
maybe
people.
somewhat aligned to him, in certain values. I cannot fathom that they would have ever made a statement like that. And he has made those statements. So making that statement as you're talking about in terms of people and putting people first, it's
And nobody questioned him, The journalists and them did not question him in what way, just to get something. He just said it. And the thing is that he just says those kind of things and nobody questions him. Some of the things sound so... Well, sometimes when I hear him, I am, as I said, I am reminded of, I just have to think of one soca song.
Which one is
And
that?
Are you dumb, my boy? Are you dumb?
Okay, Colin, thank you very much. You always get to see somehow, but thanks very much for that one, Colin.
Yeah, come back.
And have yourself a very blessed day.
I will.
I mean, we all have our rights to opinions and characterizations, no doubt about it. And well, we'll have to take another call at this time. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today? Hello, good afternoon.
Hello?
Hi, caller. We're hearing you. Go right ahead.
Hear me? Yeah, I sit down there and I'm thinking of what some program, bio.
You're speaking about a program that we had last week?
Yeah.
Oh, you maybe bioeconomy? Is it that we're referring to?
Bio.
We were speaking to
but
Dr. Jean-Yves Remy, and they were speaking about trade and bioeconomy.
But Mr. George, I'm thinking.
Yes.
I'm saying, but when I grew up in St. Lucia,
Yes.
we didn't have no gas or something. No people wasn't even cooking on kerosene oil where we had kerosene oil.
Right. Charcoal.
Charcoal.
Right.
It's charcoal
Yes.
people used to cook with,
Yes.
or wood.
Yes.
And if that was to happen from that time to now, what St. Lucia would be like?
Well, that's a problem that Haiti has, in fact, with
Hello?
yes, we're here, caller. I mean, the issue of deforestation is a major one when it comes to
No, I'll probably talk to you tomorrow. The phone giving me trouble.
Okay. All right then, caller. Not a problem. But a very important point that you're making, though, that we have seen how certain islands, certain countries, certain places have really effectively exhausted their resources to be able to manage their populations, and there comes a point where the land resources in a particular area can no longer sustain that type of activity, and so people have to now look for new resources, and this is a worldwide problem. I mean, you look at Europe, for example, and that was one of the things that characterized Europe. They got to a point where, again, they were utilizing woodlands for wood, and of course they cut it down pretty much, and you get to a point where there's almost no more, and what is left ends up being owned by maybe the lords and whatnot. So you end up with these things like the king's wood, or the king has a place where he alone can go and hunt or engage in those kind of activities. It's an issue of population pressure, and we've seen it in many places. And in a small island like ours, that certainly can be a major issue too. In the case of Martinique, for example, that was because it developed a little earlier than St. Lucia from the 1630s. You found that a lot of its natural forest, its woodland was taken away, put into agriculture, and the need for wood resources meant that they would have to then go outside of Martinique itself. And then St. Lucia, in fact, became a major point of interest for that purpose, for extraction of resources. So, but yes, wood is in fact a bioresource, and it is something that we've got to think about within the broader context of the importance of the biosphere and the ecological systems that forests actually support. There are efforts at play right about now to be able to ensure that the world overall in fact, dedicates more of its resources, more of its land and marine resources towards conservation. And there's a thrust, I think, is it 30% land conservation, 30% maritime conservation areas by the year 2030. And many countries are trying, well, the idea is that each country would ensure that at least 30% of its land is in fact protected. In the case of St. Lucia, when you look at our island, and back in the 1980s, there were assessments that were done by the Organization of American States, OAS, looking at the issue of land capability, and that effectively was how do you look at the topographical as well as geological features of a particular section of land, and what can that sustain. And so you look at the things like slopes, and how steep are the slopes, how stable are the slopes, what kind of soils do you have, and effectively what can that land really support. And I think somewhere around 67% of all land in St. Lucia effectively should be under some kind of conservation, if you were just looking at it based on the topography and geology of the land in question, right? So invariably, much of our land is not really suited for any kind of large-scale agricultural activity. It really is best effectively under forest, or maybe under some permanent tree crop type of cultivation. So it certainly is something that we need to be mindful of when we see the impacts, of course. And we've been speaking about these things for a very, very long time here. And we've seen so many projects come and go over the years. And seemingly we sometimes, after these projects have ended, we sometimes forget about the importance of what is being promoted. For example, in the Mabuya Valley, for a very long time, there were a lot of these integrated watershed management projects, which were meant to, deal with the issue of conservation of some of these very critical, very difficult lands, steep slopes, to ensure that we are protecting the valleys from excessive amounts of flash flooding. Let's go to the phone lines at this time. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Yes, good afternoon. As I heard you, I'm speaking about our topography and geology. I just thought there's urgent need for a land use policy or land use plan, because it will deal with a lot of problems that we currently have, and also it's important for planning, in the future.
Yep. Well, that caller is perhaps 100 years overdue now. I know it's a very long-standing issue. But in all seriousness, yes, I completely, more than 100% concur with you that it is very much urgently still required. I believe there's an effort at play right now with the Ministry of Physical Development in collaboration with the Ministry of Economic Development to seek out some funding from the Caribbean Development Bank for that purpose. But it is certainly very, very much needed, because at the end of the day, we only have one island right here. I don't know that we have the opportunity of relocating all 180,000 people who live here. In the case of some major catastrophe, this is what we have, and we certainly do need to be able to make best use of the both land and marine resources that exist on our island for the benefit of the future. And so the conservation of is very important. It's very, very, very critical in the long run, if we are in fact to be able to protect and conserve what people come to the island to enjoy, what we enjoy within this island. So certainly the need for forward planning, for proper land use planning is goes without saying. It is an absolute necessity, and it is only going to become more critical as we see development occurring. And of course, although some may argue, well, we're no longer in this massive agricultural, land-based developmental period where people were really trying to see how much they could extract out of the lands on the island, whether it was for agriculture, for forestry, whatever. There isn't that great pressure as of now, as compared to maybe when we were under sugar and when we were under bananas, where we certainly saw the impacts of some of these types of activities. But at the same time, given that we have that opportunity to kind of plan better now, we certainly do need to do so, because we've got other pressures. We've got the pressure of housing, for example, being a very critical element. And how do we ensure that we can house the current population that we have, as well as the future population that we have? If we are in fact going to look to attract more individuals to come into the island, to live, to invest, they of course also want to ensure that they're enjoying the best of the resources that we have to offer. But it's of course, how do you ensure that it is equitably distributed? Just very recently, for example, there was I think a bit of on social media concerns being raised about a gate being erected in an area which, of course, well, we know has been a bit of a gated community, was supposed to have been a gated community in the northeastern part, northernmost part of the island, in the northeasternmost part of Cap Estate. And many individuals would have known that area as the moonrise, because of, you'd see a very lovely moon coming up over the water. And it used to be a spot for persons to view the East Coast up at Mount Hardy. And of course, that is potentially no longer accessible. And so, of course, how do you use these resources? How do you still ensure good public access to resources, whether it might be the resources of the sea and the matter of coastal access? That has been, of course, a very big and topical issue in terms of beach access, right? Access for fishing and angling, right? All of that is really important. And so, again, those matters, of course, do have to be tackled within the idea of equity and ensuring that we all have the opportunity to enjoy the beauty and benefits of our island. Well, that's about the time that we've got to call a break for the day. And we're going to, of course, hopefully be back tomorrow, God willing, for another program of the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. And I believe tomorrow we're going to have some guests in. We're going to be speaking about forensics. They, in fact, are from the forensic laboratory here in St. Lucia, and we're going to definitely be segueing into that. I think on Thursday we're also going to be touching base a little bit. November is Energy Awareness Week, and we're going to be touching base with some friends from the Division of Energy in the Ministry of Infrastructure as part of the week, and as part of the month of focus on energy, all things energy. So hope you can also join us for that. And of course, on Wednesday, we do have Republic Corner to look forward to as well. So I'm your host, Alex George Jr., saying goodbye.